Hey YouTube, what's up?
Hey there, it's Grixis, doing all kinds of things. Hey there, it's Grixis School, playing all kinds of games. Pokemon and Magic the Gathering, come on down for all kinds of wild things.
Alrighty, so that's the end of that. That is my Pokemon Go Timeless Cup team composition video. Now you understand exactly what I'm using, exactly why I'm using it, and the different things that it does in the Timeless Cup meta, which is super duper cool. And oh, I'm sorry. I got a tweet just now from Pokemon Go, and I want to read it, and it'll be exciting because it's like, wow, a live tweet from Pokemon Go and on the thing, whatever. Um, Okay, so a lot of changes are happening. Some moves are better, some moves are worse. And, okay, so I would like to just apologize for all the irrelevant information I just gave you. What I'm going to have to do now is go back to the drawing board and redo this entire video from scratch to be in line with the new information from Niantic that was just released. So I'm going to redo the whole thing. Okay, so what we're doing today is we're going to go through my Timeless Cup team that I'm going to bring to tournaments. It is the same team that I was using before the move adjustments. Looking at my team and looking at what's now good and what's now bad, I still feel pretty confident going with the exact same team with the exact same movesets. So I'm pretty happy about that. That's nice. So I'm just going to go through that team, say what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and hopefully give you an idea of what Timeless Cup is like, and maybe give you some ideas for what you can use or what not to use. So let's get right into it. So above me, you can see the team in question. I'm going to be going through these Pokemon one at a time, starting with Blaziken, then Sudowoodo, Dealio, Victreebel, Whiscash, and of course, Venomoth at the end there. So I'm going to go through them one by one at a time with PvPoke right beside me. PvPoke.com is a website that is basically a massive database of all the Pokemon and how they fit into PvP, whether it's open format or a specific cup or Great League, Ultra League, Master League. You can run battle simulations, plug in X Pokemon versus Y Pokemon, and it kind of runs through a simulation of what that battle looks like. So there's all kinds of helpful resources on pvpoke.com. If you haven't looked at it, I absolutely recommend checking it out. If you're interested in Pokemon Go PvP, it's a great starting point, a great resource to sort of help get your head wrapped around what you want to be doing and what you don't want to be doing. So check that out, and let's get right into it with the first Pokemon on the list. Let's go. All right, here we are. Blaziken, Pokemon number 1. I've put together a convenient little scorecard just up top. So you can check the stats while I'm talking. Blaziken is a firefighting type that dies to water, psychic, ground, and flying. And it resists steel, ice, grass, bug, dark, and of course fire. The fast move I have chosen on my Blaziken is Counter. It deals 8 damage, charges 7 energy, and only takes 2 turns. So it swings fast, hits hard, and charges well. The charge moves are Blast Burn, of course, 110 damage, 50 energy, and Blaze Kick, 55 damage, and 40 energy. So what we have here is a massive charge move and a small charge move. I guess Blast Burn is massive damage, medium size in terms of energy. So what you can do is you can charge up and fire either a double Blaze Kick, or you can fire a Blaze Kick, charge a little more, fire a Blast Burn. You can play sort of those shield baity mind games of, am I going for the little move or am I going for the big move? You have to now decide what I'm going to do and shield appropriately. That's the kind of tech that I really, really like to bring to events and to games in general. I'm a sneaky beaver when I play Magic the Gathering, and I'm a sneaky beaver when I play Pokemon Go PvP. Let's look at some of the matchups for Blaziken. Blaziken hits hard on that Lapras you can see, which is super nice. Blaziken hits hard on the Meganium, and the new addition to Timeless Cup, Dugong. With the buff that happens with Icy Wind, now when you swing with an Icy Wind, whether it's blocked or not, you get a 100% chance at reducing your opponent's attack stat. And that is absolutely not to be underestimated. So Blaziken steps in and handles that Dugong problem quite efficiently, I would say. So I'm very happy to see that. I feel like my Blaziken went up in stock a little bit. And then, of course, it fights Drapion very nicely, and it fights Ivysaur, and if it fights Ivysaur, it's a safe bet. Then it also fights Venusaur, which is great, because Venusaur gives me a headache. So moving on to what kills the Blaziken, let's take a look at Haunter. Haunter is bonkers, strong, crazy attack stat, and it charges its charge moves very, very, very fast. If it's got that Legacy Shadow Ball, it's absolutely a problem, and it resists counter quite efficiently. So Blaziken doesn't do so well against Haunter, unless I happen to have a charge move and they happen to have no shields. That's a pretty good scenario, pretty wild one. And then, of course, it dies to Confusion users and Water types. So Blaziken does have a couple things to look out for, but all that being said, for the reasons that I've listed about why Blaziken is awesome, I am confident to go into Timeless with the Blaziken. So let's move on to the next Pokemon on the list. So up next, we are going to look at the second Pokemon, which is Sudowoodo, the all rock, all no nonsense. Weak to ground, grass, fighting, water, and steel. Resistant to normal, flying, poison, and fire. I am bringing counter again as the fast move because of everything I said about Blaziken's counter. The charge moves are Rock Slide, it deals 80 damage and costs 45 energy, and then Earthquake, the big baddie, 120 damage for 65 energy. Not bad. Bang for your buck. I'm really just firing off a bunch of Rock Slides. Earthquake comes in from time to time when I know I can get one in, but for the most part, it's Rock Slide the party. So let's look at the key matchups for Sudowoodo. We've got Lapras up there, which is nice. Lapras is a big problem, obviously, and they are all over Timeless Cup. So having another answer to Lapras on the team is very handy for me. I've also got Charizard on there. It's fire and it's flying, so if it takes that Rock Slide, it is dead. That's it. So it's nice to have an answer for Charizard, who I'm seeing is having a rise in popularity since yesterday's move adjustments. And then, of course, there's Dugong, another one that has a rise in popularity because of yesterday's move adjustments. So that's pretty cool. I'm dealing with a lot of the popular things here. And then there's Drapion, who also got a new move, who is also rising in popularity. And Muck, who is just already an outstanding candidate. And it's nice to have answers to those Pokemon. Side note, I'm really happy to see Drapion and Muck in a meta because I absolutely love those Pokemon. I think they're so cool. I have a really soft spot for poison types. I just think they're awesome. So moving on to what Sudowoodo is not so hot against, and of course we have Haunter up there again because of Haunter's ability to resist counter and deal out charge moves crazy fast. And then there's just a bunch of grass types because grass types are threatening. They're very potent. So unfortunately Sudowoodo is going to have a lot of trouble with those, but that's okay because Sudowoodo is going to give a lot of trouble to other things. I've really been kind of wishy-washy on Sudowoodo, but then the more I test with it, the more I like it. So now I'm really excited to be playing Sudowoodo because I think it's just such a cool Pokemon, and it's really just fun to pilot. If you haven't built a Sudowoodo, I really suggest building one and giving it a test run because it's a lot of fun. So let's move on to the next fella. So let's take a look at the next little fella on the list, and that is Dealio, the ball. Dealio is ice and water, so it's packing weaknesses from both camps. I've got a weakness to rock, grass, fighting, and electric. The resistances on Dealio are ice and water, and the ice resistance is very good because of that water-ice typing combo really pushes back on the ice types. So I'm rocking Powder Snow, which is 4 damage for 8 energy, and it takes 2 turns. So the energy gain is quite nice on this one, which is good because the charge moves on Dealio are low energy charge moves. We've got Aurora Beam for 80 damage and 60 energy. And then we have Body Slam for 60 damage and 35 energy. So a lot of people are saying that you just spam Body Slam all day, boom, 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 boom. But I like to throw that evidence onto the fire. And instead we go with Aurora Beam when it's appropriate and double Body Slam when it's appropriate. My favorite thing to do is, again, charge up to Aurora Beam, maybe a little bit beyond, and then make my opponent decide whether or not I'm doing Aurora Beam or Body Slam, hopefully get them to burn a shield or get them to not shield when I'm going for the bigger move. It's like I've talked about this before. So that's the plan there. So let's move right into those key matchups and top counters. Key matchup, Dragonair. Dragonair is, even though Return got worse, Dragonair is still on the tippity top of the list. Because Aquatail is no joke, Wrap is actually decent, and then if they're playing Dragon Pulse and you let Dragon Pulse resolve, ouch. It even hits Dealio, like, pretty hard. Even though it's an ice type, but I guess it's neutral damage, so that makes sense. It hits hard. Then we got Lapras. Celio and Lapras kind of butt heads for a little while. It's going to resist the Surf. It's going to resist the Ice Fast move, and it's going to resist the Ice Charge move if they're actually using the Ice Charge move. It does take significant damage from Skull Bash, so watch out for that. But, you know, I've got those Body Slams that come out rapid fire. So I'm able to go toe-to-toe with Lapras while I'm using Celio and quite often come out on top. And then once again, you see Dugong on that list of things I can remove. I've explained why Dugong is good, and I've explained why it's good to get rid of Dugongs. And then I'm fighting Drapions, and I'm fighting Snowy Cast Forms. And then if we look at counters for Celio just on the other side there, you'll see it's a ton of grass. And yes, Ice deals super effective damage to grass. So if I have an Aurora Beam ready and their shields are down, I can come out of those grass matches on top, which is great. But if it's a shield scenario, they're probably going to win, especially if they're rocking that Razor Leaf, because Razor Leaf hits crazy hard. And even though Celio is a bulky little ball of bulk, Razor Leaf is good. And grass types are also good, at least the ones being used a bunch. So always be careful of those grass types when you're playing something like Celio. But all that being said, I'm really invested in Celio. I really like Celio. It's fun to use, and I've had some really good success with it. So I'm sticking with Celio. There we have it. Let's move on to the next Pokemon on the list. So here's a Pokemon I'm really excited about because I really like poison types, and this is a grass poison type. It's Victreebel. Weak to flying, ice, fire, and psychic, and it resists fighting, water, electric, grass, and fairy. So some pretty cool resistances on there. I like it a lot, very techy. The fast move, Razor Leaf, which I mentioned earlier when I was talking about Celio, it hits for 11 damage. It only charges 4 energy, but it also only takes 2 turns. So it's not terrible, but it does charge slowly, and you feel it when you're using it. It's noticeable. So the charge moves are Leaf Blade, which is 70 damage for 35 energy. Luckily, Leaf Blade charges very quickly, so you can get to 1, 2 if you're lucky. And then I've got Acid Spray on there, which is 20 damage for 50 energy. Now what Acid Spray does is whether or not it's blocked, it reduces their defense by 2 stages. In the new update, when a Pokemon is switched out, the stat changes are reset, just like in the main series game. So Acid Spray did get a little bit weaker, I will admit that. But I really like stat change moves, and I really like shield baiting moves. And while Acid Spray is usually the shield bait move, because it's usually less energy than the main move, in this case it's more energy than the main move, and it does take a while to charge up, so you can't do as much shield bait shenanigans with it. But I've absolutely fired Acid Sprays on Victreebel, and had them be shielded. And I just love when that happens, because whether it's shielded or not, the defense goes down either way, which again is less relevant because of the new switch out rule. But I still really like those kinds of moves, and I'm still going to stay with Acid Spray. And if you look at Victreebel's charge moves, there's so many that I just don't want to spend the charge TMs to change it. So I'm sticking with Acid Spray, and hopefully that goes well for me. I'm feeling good about it. Also, my Victreebel is an unfortunate situation because it has like 8 or 9 attack IV, which kind of sucks, but with the new update and charge move priority, now the Pokemon with the highest attack stat will go first when charge moves are activated at the same time. So Victreebel hopefully will win a couple charge move priority battles because it's got that extra attack IV on there. We'll see how that goes. So Victreebel gets all of those boys that you see on the side: Lapras, Dugong, Swampert, Politoed, Whiscash. Whiscash is awful to deal with. It's just not fun. So when you have something like Victory Bell who's hitting hard with a Razor Leaf on a Whiscash, that Whiscash is deadzo, and they'll usually switch it out. So let's look at the the counters, things that that will fight your Victory Bell and bring it to its, I was going to say knees, but it doesn't seem to have those. Bring it to its leaves. So you've got all those Confusion users. Confusion is a good move. It hits hard and really affects my poison typing. And then you've got Charizard, who's either rocking Flying or Fire Fast Move, both of which are no good for Victory Bell, and the Blast Burn. So that is Victory Bell. Let's move on to the next Pokemon. So let's hop into the next individual on my Timeless Cup team. We have Whiscash, the groundwater fish fella, and that is the official Pokedex entry for Whiscash. Whiscash is weak to grass, but very weak to grass, and that is why I put on the infographic above that Whiscash super dies to grass. Whiscash's resistances, though, are poison, rock, electric, like really resist electric, steel, and fire. The fast move is Mud Shot, which deals 3 damage, but gives a whopping 9 energy and takes 2 turns. So it's very fast, doesn't hit super hard, but it charges moves crazy, crazy fast, which is good, because when we go a little lower, we see the charge moves are Blizzard at 130 damage for 75 damage, for 75 energy, and Mud Bomb, which is 55 damage for 40 energy. So we can see that these charge moves charge relatively quickly, and then you add the Mud Shot charge quickness, and you get these moves that charge crazy, crazy fast, and you're again in that position where you can be firing multiple little moves or one big move, and your opponent has to decide which one you're doing based on what they're doing, what you've already done, etc. It puts your opponent in that on-the-spot decision-making situation that I just love to put my opponents in. So there you have it. That's the moves on the Whiscash and the reason for the moves on the Whiscash. Also, Blizzard hits crazy hard pretty much on everything because it is a 130 damage move. Whether that Pokemon takes super effective damage or neutral damage from ice, Blizzard is hitting hard. So if they don't shield it, you're in a very, very good spot. So let's take a look at the key matchups on the Whiscash. We have Dragonair, Charizard, Muk, Blaziken, and Drapion. And I've pretty much explained why all of those things are good to be countered. So I'm not going to get too deep into that because we already know that. And then if you look over at the things that defeat the Whiscash, it is a mountain of grass types. Ludicolo marked blue, but let's not forget that Ludicolo is also a grass type in addition to a water type. So all these Pokemon are going to hit super hard on Whiscash, as well as any other Pokemon that falls under the grass umbrella. So you really have to be careful with those grass types. Make sure you're shielding efficiently, switching efficiently, and your Whiscash doesn't get stuck in a Whiscash versus Victory Bell type situation versus, all those kind of things. So be careful with Whiscash, but if you play Whiscash correctly and don't let it die too fast, you're going to see a lot of mileage come from Whiscash, and you're going to be thankful that you brought it. So that is my reasoning for bringing Whiscash. So let's just move on to the next poke. So the 6th and final Pokemon on my team of 6 is Venomoth. Venomoth, the poison bug type, who is weak to Flying, Rock, Fire, and Psychic. The resistances on this fella are Fighting, Bug, Poison, Grass, and Fairy. I'm playing the fast move Confusion, which deals 16 damage, generates 12 energy. It is a 4-turn move, so it's a little bit slower, but it hits so friggin' hard that sometimes you don't even need charge moves depending on what you're playing against. And then the charge moves are the Legacy Poison Fang for 40 damage and just 35 energy. And then Silver Wind, the Bug-type move for 70 damage, 45 energy, with a 10% chance to double boost your attack and your defense. But remember, if you get the boost and then switch out the Venomoth, you lose the boost. So keep that in mind when you're playing things with boosts and things with debuffs. So Poison Fang is Legacy currently. With the announcement yesterday, they said they're going to be integrating more Legacy moves back into the move pools. So if you don't have your Poison Fang Venomoth just yet, hold your horses, be patient, you will get one. Return used to be an acceptable substitute, but you can see over there, Psychic now replaces Return on that second charge move if there's no Poison Fang. And just a little side note, my sister, who is no longer an active player, had this on her account and just gave it to me for peanuts. So I really appreciate that because I have the opportunity to play with a Poison Fang Venomoth before it is readily available for everyone to play with a Poison Fang Venomoth, assuming they bring it back, and I have a strong feeling that they will. So, enough of this. Let's talk about what Venomoth does with other Pokemon in the meta. So, we're going to look at the key matchups first again. Venusaur, Meganium, Victreebel. The Confusion is hitting hard on the Venusaur and the Victreebel, and the Silverwind is hitting hard on all of them. So, an excellent choice to fight these predominant and powerful Pokemon. Blaziken and Haunter both die really hard to Confusion because both those Pokemon don't have the greatest defense stats in the game. And when they get super effective damage from a move that already naturally hits as hard as Confusion does, it really, really hits hard. So, Confusion for the win. And then if you look at the top counters for Venomoth, you will notice that these are Pokemon that are not really in the meta. Not many people are talking about or using these Pokemon. So the top counters are things you don't really need to worry about. There are, of course, other counters to Venomoth, like another Venomoth, or anything else that's rocking Confusion these days. So that's pretty cool. I had a total brain fart. There are things in the meta that fight Venomoth, fire types, flying types, things that are using psychic moves, things that are using rock moves. Sudowoodo! So you do have to watch out for other things, but the top counters are just not present from what I have seen. So Venomoth is kind of a beater, and I'm really happy to have Venomoth on my team, and I'm really excited to finally get to use Venomoth in a cup. So that's it for Venomoth. This marks the end of my Timeless Cup Team Tech Talk. So thank you for sitting and listening and watching. I hope you learned a thing or two. I hope it gave you some ideas. It made you look a little closer at what's what. And that'll be that. So if you liked the video, you're welcome to subscribe, and then you'll see when I make more things in the future. You can keep in touch with me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm pretty active there, and I'm always happy to chit-chat with folks who have questions or just want to talk about life and the world to come. And of course there's Twitch, twitch.tv/GrixSchool15, where you can watch me play Magic Arena and some other games. I have a couple other ideas that I want to bring to Twitch. Just a couple fun little games that I thought would be nice to just sit and play and chat with people, make some friends. If you miss any of my streams, they are recorded and what's the word I'm looking for? Saved for 2 weeks, so you can always go back and watch what you've missed if you're feeling a little bit left out, and just sort of get a taste for what the Twitch stream is like. And that'll do it for me. So thank you for watching. Grix's School 15 is going to go edit this and upload this immediately. So thanks again, and everyone have a wonderful day, and I appreciate everyone that watches this. And let's not forget, I appreciate PB Poke for letting me use his website in my video, and for just creating this website, because it's an excellent tool that I 100% recommend all day, every day, and it's probably the website that I use most often, honestly. So that is it. Now I'm leaving for real. Thank you.